In this lesson, you'll learn how to write a horror story in 12 easy steps. We'll also end with a lesson challenge to test your knowledge. Step 1. Brainstorm some scary ideas. Start by writing down all of the words and phrases that come to mind when you think of horror. Remember, horror is all about fear. So think about things that scare you. You might even try listing out some of your greatest fears, such as acrophobia, the fear of heights, or arachnophobia, the fear of spiders. Step 2. Develop your ideas. Take your ideas from the previous step, and develop them into a truly scary story idea. You should think about the main antagonist in the story, and what makes them so scary. For example, a silent clown who is spreading a deadly laughing disease around town. Once you have your basic idea, you should develop it to make it scarier. Write a short paragraph about the overall idea of your horror story. This paragraph can include some terrifying emotions, such as paranoia and anger. It can also include unnatural details relating to your idea, such as spaghetti turning into worms. Here is an example description of a horror story idea. Step 3. Make a list of the main characters. For each character, write down a sentence to describe the role in your story. Here are some tips for planning good horror story characters. Give each main character a distinct personality, and make sure they have a certain reason for the actions they take. Make your main characters relatable. In other words, avoid giving them an over-the-top personality. Be realistic. Include a range of supporting characters. These supporting characters may even become the main character in any sequels you plan. And finally, the antagonist, or the evil creature in your story, should have some relatable features, such as a past that the readers can relate to. Here is an example list of characters for our story idea. Step 4. Develop a spooky setting. Think about some scary places that you know of in real life, or places that you've seen in your nightmares. Common horror story settings may include a haunted house, a creepy old mansion, graveyards, and even quiet suburban towns. Whatever your choice of setting, try to write a detailed description of the main setting in this step. Think about the appearance of the location, the weather, the feeling someone has when standing in this location, as well as what kind of people live here, along with the beliefs they hold. Here is an example of a setting description. Step 5. Outline the opening paragraph. You should ideally include the main character's name, the setting, the antagonist, the fear of the story, and the main character's problem. During this step, it is important to try to write an opening that gives the reader a taste of the entire story. But of course, don't give too much away. Just a hint of fear will do. Your goal here is to have the reader wanting more. Here is an example of an opening outline. Step 6. Plan the major climax. This is where your main character goes head-to-head with the antagonist, or has to face their greatest fear. It's also when your main character learns the truth about the antagonist. When writing the climax, think about what will happen, who will be in danger, and what the outcome will be. If you're struggling with the climax, then you should start with a smaller problem, and work your way up to the big one. For example, you could start with a little bit of trouble with a character, such as a bad dream, or the main character getting hurt. This will get your readers involved in the story. Here is an example of a climax scene outline. Step 7. Write a twisted ending. In horror stories, the twist ending is almost always a shock reveal of some kind. You could reveal who the antagonist really is, or even what the main character has been hiding. Or you could have the main character learn some shocking information that sends them in a completely different direction. The unique thing about the horror genre is that even after the mystery or problem is solved, it's not always 100% solved. There's always some darkness lurking somewhere. Give a final hint of darkness to keep your readers second-guessing, even after the book is over. Here is an example of a horror story ending scene. Step 8. Choose a scary writing style. Horror stories are written in a more darker and dramatic style compared to other genres. In this step, you want to think about the actual writing of your horror style. Will it be written in the first person, second person, or third? A horror story written in the first person has a much more powerful effect. There's something about having the perspective of the main character that makes them more vulnerable. While the third person is great for taking the reader through a story, it doesn't allow for the depth of emotion that can be found in the first person. Here is an example of a scene written in the first person, and another example that is written in the third person. Step 9. Write the first draft. Finally, it's time to start writing your story. While writing your draft, you'll want to keep these things in mind. Make sure your story is believable to a certain extent. Of course, you might think that vampires aren't real, but make them real for your readers. Avoid using cliches. These are words or phrases that are overused in stories, and don't really add anything to your story. Use active voice instead of passive voice. Passive voice is when a sentence starts with someone or something. Active voice is when the sentence starts with I or we. Use short sentences and paragraphs. Long sentences make it difficult to read, and make paragraphs look heavy. If you're struggling to get anything written down, then start with the easiest, or shortest scenes first. You can always come back to the more complicated areas of your story later when you're ready. Here is a snippet of a draft horror story we wrote earlier. Step 10. Edit and review your draft. Start by reading the story to yourself a couple of times. Each time you read your story, highlight areas that you are unsure of, or would like to improve. At the same time, look out for spelling mistakes, grammatical errors, and sentences that sound a bit off. Next, you'll want to gather some feedback. This is where you'll want to have a second or third person read your story. Get a few different people to read your story, and make sure they have a different perspective. They can be family members, teachers, or even a friend that's not familiar with your writing style. Once you have the feedback, you can go back and make the changes. Step 11. Choose a chilling book title. A good title helps to give your story an identity, and also helps to tell the reader what kind of story they're about to read. The title should be intriguing and a little bit scary. If you're struggling with an idea, then try thinking about popular horror book titles, such as The Haunting of Evelyn Jones, Ghost Boys, or Bram Stoker's Dracula. Essentially, they either describe the antagonist of the story, or the main setting in the story. Based on this, try to summarize your horror story in as little as 3 to 5 words. Think about the main setting, or the main monster of your tale, and come up with some book title ideas. Here are some ideas we thought of. Step 12. Your book is now finished. You've written the first draft, edited it, gathered feedback, and now it's time to publish it. If you're a new writer, then it's not a good idea to start by publishing your book with professional publishers, as you don't want to rush your writing and end up with a book full of mistakes. Instead, we recommend a tool like Imagine Forest to publish your book online for free and share it with your friends. This is a great way to get comfortable with your writing style and not worry too much about any mistakes made. It's time for today's lesson challenge. Can you write a gory, climax scene for a horror story, using the following image as inspiration? Thank you for watching. For a written guide on how to write a horror story, please see the link in the video description below. You can also participate in our online daily writing challenges to practice some of the skills you have learned in this video. That's all from us today.